Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mila, you're at Alexandrian Archives. I hope you're enjoying your stay here. If you're new, welcome. Today's video is going to be a book recs video. Surprise! Are we surprised? Honestly, you shouldn't be. So it is basically a finished series that I think you should check out. Finished being the keyword here. Because I know not all of us like to wait ages for the books to come out and stuff, so grab a snack, grab a drink. I have my water, although it's lukewarm. I will change that after I finish this video. So these are all finished series. You don't have to worry about it. Well, it is out on April 30th, so by the time you see this, the book will be out. So wow, that is expert timing. I'm giving myself a pat on the back. So that's not the first series we're talking about, but the first one is the Shepherd King duology, I believe it's called. The first book is One Dark Window, and the second one is Two Twisted Crowns. I really, really loved One Dark Window. It was so lush. It was so dark. It was so good. The romance, the characters, the plot, the world building, the magic system is based off of cards. They're called the Providence cards, and depending on each card it gives you a power, but there's a severe consequence for each one. For example, if you have the beauty, right? Apologies for the noise, my dad's doing something downstairs. If you have the beauty card, the maiden I think it's called, or something similar, you become incredibly beautiful to the point where all the blemishes, all the imperfections that make you beautiful are gone, and the consequence of that beauty is that you grow cold. You grow very, very cold. I'm gonna open the window because it's incredibly hot in here. So you grow incredibly cold. So just imagine me having the maiden card, and let's say it gets rid of all these moles and stuff that I have, but instead I just become mean. I can't really imagine that. I wouldn't want that for myself. So I highly recommend if you want. I feel like it's categorized as a romantasy, and I don't like romantasy as a genre. I'm not the biggest fan of romantasy as a genre. I think this is the only book in the romantasy Venn diagram, I guess. In the Venn diagram that is fantasy and romance in the middle. So you have the romantasy section. That has not let me down. Also, my favorite booktuber, Carrie from Carrie Can Read, recommended this, and when I posted about it as I was reading, she actually saw, and I nearly screamed because she is the reason. She's one of the biggest reasons why I started this booktube channel. So yeah, her recommendations usually don't do me wrong most of the time, I believe. The next one is a series I haven't finished yet because I had been a little bit scared, and at the time actually the fourth book wasn't out, so we had to wait a while to the fourth book, and maybe I'll finish it this year, who knows, which is the Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. This is, I believe, based on Roman Empire, the occupation, and has a school. There's infiltration and sort of that kind of vibe. It's so good. It is. Oh my god, you guys have to read it, please. Please. Sabaa Tahir is such a phenomenal writer, and I cannot wait for her prequel book, sequel series that's coming for after the events of An Ember in the Ashes. I'm so excited for it. Oh my god. I need to finish this book. Please yell at me kindly in the comments to finish this book. Apologies for the noise. I have the windows open and there's birds. I don't know if you can hear it. The next one is one I also haven't finished because I'm a little bit frightened, but my aunt keeps telling me to finish it. Hi, Rabia. It's the Devabad trilogy. So City of Brass, Kingdom of Copper, and Empire of Gold. I have read City of Brass, and I think at the time Empire of Gold either had just come out or we had to wait a little bit, I believe. I don't fully remember, but I have read City of Brass. I just need to get back into it. Just need to sit down and focus. So, yeah. Oh, City of Brass is about a girl named... I actually need to read this. Nari. Nari is a girl who lives in Cairo, and she sort of is like a con woman, so she sort of gives people like prayers and palm readings and all that stuff, healings and stuff, to get money and then run away from Cairo. She's, as far as she knows, an orphan, and then she calls these like jinn, I believe it was, and she calls like sort of the undead, I believe it was, and she also summons a jinn warrior. She is whisked away to this land, and turns out that she's actually of magic. Like she comes from a line of very famous healers. And I also need to read the Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. I have to get to that. Devabad trilogy vlog, anyone? I can't believe I've been putting this off for so long. Anyways, so that's that. And yeah, so the funny thing about books that are set like Middle East or like Persia, ancient Arabia, is that there's always a character that has the same name as a family member. In this case, I have an uncle whose name is Ali, and in this case there's a Prince Ali, right? And honestly, it shouldn't be that surprising, but I just think it's funny. In another book, it's called, oh my god, one of the books is called Traitor to the Throne. Hero from Fall or something. Something in the sand. I forget the name. I'll put it up on the screen. But the prince there was named Rahim. And my cousin's name is Rahim, which is so funny to read because all I picture is him. Like, no. Stop. Why am I picturing my cousin? So, yeah. That's just a funny thing that I have with certain books. The next one is, of course, the Poppy War trilogy. Please check trigger warnings, I beg you, and content warnings. It's not worth, risking your mental health because it is so dark. It's so grim. She doesn't shy away from the darkness of war, and it's important, but it's very dark. So, I do know that a lot of people have like this sort of idea around fantasy that is all happy-go-lucky and it's just fairies, fae, dragons, elves, dwarves, whatever. But a lot of the time it can also be used to criticize modern day like events and stuff, and can also be used to retell modern day events to the same amount of cruelty, but with a layer of sort of fantasy to it. And that's a whole other topic, honestly, how fiction mimics reality, how reality seemingly mimics fiction. So that's a whole other thing. But yeah, the next one is Awakens by Elise Kova. This is the one I read last summer. Like, I just flew through it. Oh my god, it's 5 books. Book 3 and 4, I think book 4 gets a little bit slow. Book 5 is slow at the beginning and then it really hits it. So this follows a girl named Vala, I believe, and turns out, and she's like a librarian. She's like a library assistant, like a library apprentice, and then turns out that she is actually the last air walker, I believe they're called. So in this world, there's elemental magic. Think Avatar: The Last Airbender, literally. And she's the last airbender. Except she's not an avatar. And she's like extremely powerful because of that, because air walkers were known to be extremely powerful and people were scared of them. So we have Vala, and as she learns about this, and then there's a lot of stuff that happens, and she's thrust into the army basically, so she turns into a soldier. Oh my god, nah, chef's kiss, so good. First book, so good. Second book, so good. Third book, yeah. Fourth book, and fifth book, hope that makes sense. I don't know what that was. But yeah, highly recommend. Elise Kova has a lot of books, which could seem intimidating, but I think that Awakens is a good place to start if you want fantasy, if you want an easy, believe it's categorized as YA. I'm not too sure, but do correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, and as always, I will have all the links down below for you to buy the books if you would like. The next is a duology called, I feel like it's just called Strike the Zither, or it's okay, it's the Strike the Zither duology. So this is the first book. It is so gorge, like what? And the second book is Sound the Gong, and by the time you see this video, it'll be out, because it comes out on April 30th. So, et voila. Strike the Zither, Sound the Gong. This is a reimagining of, I believe, the romance of, like, the Three Kingdoms, and it's set in the year 414 of the Qin dynasty, and it is so good. I think if you like sea dramas, like the fantasy ones with also Embers, if you liked Iron Widow as well, I think you would like this one. So, highly recommend. Can't wait to get to book 2. I have an arc of it, and it's just like staring at me every time I open my Kobo, and then I go to read a totally different book. Whoops. Sorry, not sorry, I guess. I don't know. And the last trilogy is, I actually have to double check. I think the last book is out, but I'm just gonna double check. So this was originally published as like indie, I believe, and I just need to know. So the book is The Cry of the Firebird. That's the first book. And it is fantasy. It has like Finnish mythology and Russian fairy tales. It is so good. Oh my god, I cannot, like, it's so good. Oh my gosh, it's not showing the second one or the third one. Cry of the Firebird, Rise of Firebird, and Ashes of the Firebird. So the Firebird is a mythical creature from Russian fairy tales, Slavic folklore, however you want to see it. And it is essentially like a phoenix, basically. So it's called Zhar Ptitsa in Russian. You learn something new. And basically we follow this girl named Anya, who meets the Finnish god of the dead after her grandfather dies. And she lives in this remote village. And turns out her grandfather was a shaman. Shamans are, for those that don't know, are basically people that can commune with spirits and the gods, basically, depending on where you are. In this case, it is Russia, a remote village in Russia, and I believe it's a remote village in Russia. And so, in this case, it's the indigenous Russian version of shamanism. It's more or less the same, I believe, across the board, but obviously different gods, different ways of communicating with them. So yeah, so she meets the Finnish god of the dead, and then she finds out that her grandfather is a shaman and that he has been guarding the gates of our world in order for the people and creatures in the land of Skaski, the land of stories. Skaski is the word for stories in Russian. Do not come into our world, because that would be very bad. And unfortunately, since he died, the gates are slowly opening since he's not there to protect them. And so she has to go on this adventure to find out her powers and blah, blah, blah. And oh my god, it's so good. I need you guys to read this. If you like Shadow and Bones, if you like Six of Crows, if you like that sort of Russian fairy tale vibe that's a little bit darker, a little bit grittier, a little bit more adult, please read this. I highly recommend. Yeah, so that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and like, comment, subscribe as usual. Comment your thoughts down below if you read any of these or if any of these sound interesting. Oopsies. If any of these sound interesting, and I will see you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all my socials, and I will see you in the next one. Happy reading.